Hello and welcome everybody to You Can Handle the Truth with your host, the Michigan Outlaw. This is obviously part 2 to my video why are small towns being erased. Yesterday we did a lot of talk about Agenda 21. Today will be the same. I planned on doing one video, it just got too long. Today I'm going to stick more to the facts. Try not to get sidetracked when I get frustrated with the nonsense that they're doing, which we already know, but just saying it out loud gets me fired up. So without further ado, just like my last video, a lot of this information was put together by a patriot named Tom DeWeese, Tom DeWeese, who works for the American Policy Center.org. Here we go. In one easy lesson, awareness of Agenda 21 and sustainable development is racing across the nation as citizens and community after community are learning what their city planners are actually up to. As awareness grows, I am receiving more and more calls for tools to help activists fight back. Many complain that elected officials just won't read detailed reports or watch long videos. Can you give us something that is quick and easy to read we can hand out, I'm asked? Yeah, and you better talk fast because you get 2 minutes at these damn city council meetings. If that doesn't show you right there that they don't give a shit, but I'm getting distracted. Let's keep moving. Lost my page. So here it is, a one-page quick description of Agenda 21 that fits one page. I've also included for the backside of your handout a list of quotes for your perpetrators of Agenda 21 that should back up this brief description. A word of caution. Use this as a starter kit, but do not allow it to be your only knowledge of this very complex subject. To kill it, you have to know the facts, research, know your details, discover the NGO players, which means non-governmental organizations, entities, big business essentially, bureaucrats. We need to know the players in our communities, identify who is victimized by the policies and recruit them to fight along with us, and then kill Agenda 21 once and for all. That's how it must be done. The information that I'm going to give you right now is the first step. Happy hunting, right? Those are Tom's words. But I agree. Okay, so here we go. Quick recap. What is sustainable development? According to the authors, the objective of sustainable development is to integrate economic, social, and environmental policies in order to achieve reduced consumption, social equality, and the preservation and restoration of biodiversity. Took the words right out of my mouth because that's exactly what we're talking about. They want to take away everything, including our homes and our properties, turn it back to wildland or whatever, right? Because they're going to use it, right? And then move us into the mega cities. But I digress. Substantialists insist that every societal decision be based on environmental impact, focusing on 3 components: global land use, global education, and global population control and reduction. Wow, they're actually being honest there in that last piece. Take your global crap and get it out of here. Next, social equity, or social injustice. Social justice is described as the right and opportunity of all people to benefit equally from the resources afforded to us by society and the environment. Redistribution of wealth. Private property is a social injustice since not everyone can build wealth from it. National sovereignty is a social justice. Lack of universal health care is a social injustice, all part of Agenda 21 policy. Yeah, because that Obamacare really worked out well for anybody. I really pray that people have woken up to Barry's deception by this point. And if you haven't, there's people praying for you every day. We're all praying for you. Economic prosperity. Public-private partnerships, or PPP as they call them. Special dealings between government and certain chosen corporations which get tax breaks, grants, and government power of eminent domain to implement sustainable policy, government-sanctioned monopolies, in other words. Local sustainable development policies. Smart growth. You know, and that right there, smart growth. What do they do in the Appalachians? They shut down all the coal mines, put up a freaking solar panel, and just put everything out of work. This has nothing to do with our environment. I'm not going to get into it because I keep getting sidetracked because it's just so obvious. And these are their words. Anyway, smart growth, wildlands projects, resealant cities, regional visioning projects, STAR, Sustainable Communities, Green Jobs, Green Building Codes, Going Green, Alternative Energy, Local Visioning, Facilitators, Regional Planning, Historic Preservation, Conservation Easements, Development Rights, Sustainable Farming, Comprehensive Planning, Growth Management, and Consensus. It seems to me, maybe I'm wrong, but things were going pretty smoothly until these international bankers started putting their greedy, grubby little fingers all over our country. Who was behind it? ICLEI. It's the ICLEI, known as ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainable, formerly International Council for, or it was formerly the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives, and that's ICLEI. Communities pay ICLEI dues to provide local community plans, software training, etc. Addition groups include American Planning Association, the Residence Planning Group, International City/County Management Group, aided by U.S. Mayors Conference, National Governors Association, National League of Cities, National Association of National Association of County Administrators, and many more private organizations and official government agencies. Foundation and government grants drive the process, and that's what it is. These politicians are doing what they've done for many years. They're lining their pockets to, you can't even use the word essentially here, they're lining their pockets and selling us out at the same time. And, the question comes to my mind anyway, what about their families? What about their future generations? And I'm sure these people told them, you'll get a really, maybe they'll get a double wide in these mega cities, the 10 by 30 apartments we're all supposed to live in. Sickening. Where did it originate? The term sustainable development was first introduced to the world in the pages of a 1987 report, Our Common Future, produced by the United Nations, of course, World Commission on Environmental and Development, authored by Gro Harlem Brundtland. Sounds like a frickin' whack job. Vice President of the World Socialist Party. Oh, I should have read next sentence. Yeah, he's a psychopath. The term was first offered as official UN policy in '92, and a document called U.S. Sustainable Development Agenda 21, issued at the UN's Earth Summit today, referred to simply as Agenda 21. What gives Agenda 21 ruling authority? More than 178 nations adopted Agenda 21 as official policy during a signing ceremony at the Earth Summit. U.S. Trader George H.W. Bush signed the document for the U.S., and signing each nation pledged to adopt the goals of Agenda 21. In '93, Clinton, in compliance with Agenda 21, signed Executive Order Number 12852 to create the President's Council on Sustainable Development in order to harmonize U.S. environmental policy with UN directives as outlined in Agenda 21. The EO directed all agencies of the federal government to work with the state and local community governments in a joint effort, revenant government using the guidelines outlined in Agenda 21. As a result, with the assistance of groups like ICLEI, sustainable development is now emerging as government policy in every town, county, and state in the nation. Revealing quotes from the planners, Agenda 21 proposes an array of actions which are intended to be implemented by every person on Earth. It calls for specific changes in all activities of all people. Effective execution of Agenda 21 will require a profound reorientation of all humans, unlike anything the world has ever experienced. Agenda 21, the Earth Summit strategy to save our planet. Yeah, emphasizes Dr. His name's half cut off and I don't even care. It's urgent to implement this, but we don't know what it is. The reality of life on our planet dictates that continued economic development as we know it cannot be sustained. It can't? Why not? Because the powers that be say it can't, right? Sustainable development, therefore, is a program of effort for local and global economic reform, a program that has yet to be fully defined. The local Agenda 21 planning guide published by ICLEI in '96. No one fully understands how or even if sustainable developments can be achieved. However, there is a growing consensus that it must be accomplished at the local level if it is ever to be achieved on the globalist basis. Imagine that. So our small towns are going to have to try to brainwash and convince us that taking on a global, shutting down our borders, throwing away our flags, and just following a one world order is going to have to start at our local communities. Yeah, And that's where I'm not saying all of our local politicians. As far as I'm concerned, anybody above your local people are corrupt. Are there a few good guys in there? A few good people, I should say? Most likely. I hope there is. But the majority of them are gone. But now at our local, city, state levels, this is where we can run into these people, talk to these people, and see who they're really working for. You don't even have to talk to them. Look at the laws they pass or vote towards or support or don't. You know, follow the money. Follow what have they done so far? Agenda 21 and private property. Land cannot be treated as an ordinary asset, controlled by individuals and subject to the pressures and inefficiencies of the market. Private land ownership is also a principal instrument of the accumulation and concentration of wealth, therefore contributes to social injustice. There's that social justice again. From the report from the 1976 UN Habitat 1 conference. Private land use decisions are often driven by strong economical incentives that result in several ecological and I don't know what the hell it is. The key to overcoming private land is through public policy. Report from the President's Council. So apparently, somebody either inheriting land from their family or working their asses off to buy it and maintain it, it's just not viable. Yeah, I beg to differ. Reinvention of government. Here we go. We need a new collaborative decision process that leads to better decisions, more rapid change, and more sensible use of human, natural, and financial resources in achieving our goals. See, that's the thing. Just like gold and oil or whatever resources they have, us humans, we're sheep or cows to them. We're resources. We're votes. At this point, I don't think our vote even matters. But that's the way they look at us. Individual rights will have to take a backseat to the collective. Harvey Rubin, vice chairman of ICLEI, the Wildlands Project. We must take this place an insecure and inhospitable place for the capitalists. We must make this place an insecure and inhospitable place for capitalism and their projects. We must reclaim the roads and plowed lands, halt dam construction, tear down existing dams, free shackled rivers, and return the wilderness millions of tens of millions of acres or presently settled land. Dave Foreman from Earth First. Yeah. Because I know that's what most of us do too. We buy property, especially the property out in the woods where we plan to live until we die. And we just cut all the trees down and destroy it and wreck it and pollute the land. You know, that sounds like the government. That's not what my land looks like. I'm on a river. It's beautiful. Trees all over the place. Birds chirping. There are so many deer and rabbit and other wild animals in my yard that sometimes it's a pain in the butt to walk out there. So I don't think I'm bothering nature too much, and I'm not sticking up to the globalists either. Do that enough. People do not buy land, private citizens, to destroy it. That's the government. So as you can see here, and this is right off the Agenda 21 website, this is stuff in their own words. This is what they do. They're trying to convince us first to give up the land. But they're smart enough to know that we're not going to do that because that's lunacy. Hey, trade in your property. Well, don't trade it in. They're going to try to do eminent domain. But yeah, you know that bathroom in your house? We're going to, give you an apartment about that size. I'm sure they're going to charge an astronomical amount for it too. But that's the thing. It doesn't even worth talking about it because these people are insane. And then one last little piece here. This is an article. Let's see where it's freaking from here. The growing assault on private property. Are single-family homes racist? I was going to say the short answer, but the only answer is no. Are you stupid? But to these people, everything is racist. One of the main indicators used by economists to measure the health of a nation's economy is housing starts. The number of private homes being built around the nation in 2018. Housing starts fell in all 4 regions of the nation, representing the biggest drop since 2016. Minneapolis, Minnesota, the city council is moving to remove zoning that protects single-family neighborhoods, instead planning to add apartment buildings in the mix. The mayor actually said such zoning was devised as a legal way to keep black Americans and other minorities from moving into certain neighborhoods. Racist, social injustice are the charges. And that right there, again, I'm not going to digress into this. I'm not going to argue with lunatics. I live in a very small town, and we have people from all over the world, even more daily, showing up, and I think there's some underhanded agendas going on there, obviously. It just, people are welcome here. The preacher at our church is a white woman married to a black man with mixed or mulatto children. And guess what? They have no problem. Matter of fact, their church is pretty full. There's people there all the time. I've never heard anything about it in a negative light. But these people want to paint us as racist. Don't play their game. We know who we are. But we need to support each other. If you see somebody being attacked and freaking accused of nonsense, stand shoulder to shoulder with them. Because believe it or not, this stuff will eventually hit us all. There's stories since recorded history of, go back to the Nazis or whoever else. When those jackbooted thugs were dragging people from their homes, people would shut the shades and close the doors because they didn't want to see it. Because if they didn't see it, it wasn't happening. But guess what? They'd pull them out one by one the next day or whenever. Your door getting kicked. We must stand together, folks. I'm looking at a few more of these, but it's not even worth it. They all start with the NAACP, this and that and the other. All these anti-growth movements who take their own people, their own, in their words, minority groups, and hold them down under the water instead of letting them grow, and just be. They keep them in a constant, perpetual state of feeling like a victim, feeling they can't do anything, and then they've got you. So anyway, HUD, that's another one. HUD is no good. It was sold to us as a non-profit. We all know what HUD is for the most part. They build the low-income housings, and then they freaking help you out. Yeah, no. But let's see. Let's read a couple things about HUD before I close this down here. It goes on along about HUD. Oregon Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tina Kotek, Democrat from Portland, is drafting legislation that would end single-family zoning in cities of 10,000 or more. She claims there is a housing shortage crisis. Let me inject this. I say it in almost every video. Look this up. You could take the billions of people around the world. They could all fit in Texas. They could all own a single-family home with a yard, and there'd be no issue. This all comes down to control and depopulation. But anyway, I'm not going to let her get me thrown off here. So Tina Kotek, this Democrat from Portland, is drafting legislation, would end single-family zoning in cities of 10,000 or more because of this supposed this housing shortage crisis. Such identical policies don't just simultaneously spring up across the country by accident. There is a force behind it. The root of these actions are found in the fair housing policies dictated by the Federal Housing and Urban Development Agency, or HUD. The affected communities have all taken HUD grants. And see, once you take these grants, apparently you're their slave. I say they're evil freaking corporations. You don't have to do a freaking thing they say. But these politicians have lined their pockets. Now they become lobbyists. They try to lobby it to us. And since we're not dumb, we don't accept it, and then they just do it anyway. And this is what we need to fight against. Not with violence, but we need to take over these seats. We need to stand side by side, talk to our neighbors, and be a unified front against these people. Our Heavenly Father has us always. You need to believe in Him, pray to Him. Pray that He will touch the hearts of these so-called leaders and politicians, and they'll stop selling us out. The second HUD demands a detailed plan showing how the community intends to eliminate the contributing factors to this imbalance. Once the plan is prepared, then the community is required to sign an agreement to take no actions that are materially inconsistent with its obligation to affirmatively further fair housing. Americans who have grown up experiencing private home ownership as the root of personal property, must quickly learn of the threat of this HUD AFFH program. They must fully understand why cities like Chicago, Minneapolis, and Baltimore, and states like Oregon have suddenly announced actions to eliminate single-family home zonings. These cities have already taken the grant poison and must now comply. The ultimate government game is to reorganize our cities into massive urban areas, or the megacities. Look it up. You can see not only the megacity map, with I think it's 11 megacity zones or whatever, but that new high-speed rail that lunatic AOC's been talking about, that map of that high-speed rail system fits perfectly right over this map of the megacities that came out years ago. So figure that one out. So, the ultimate government game is to reorganize our cities into massive urban areas where single-family neighborhoods are replaced by sustainable smart growth model of stack and pack wall-to-wall apartment buildings. To the frustration of those substantialists. See, if you can't even pronounce their title, it's probably some wacky nonsense they made up, huh? Sustainabilists determined to change. They're determined to change our entire economic system. The legal protection of private property rights and ownership have proven to be a roadblock for the implementation. Imagine that. New York Mayor William de Blasio best expressed the frustration of those driving to control community development when he was quoted in New York Magazine saying, "What's been hardest is the way our legal system is structured to favor private property." Oh no. It's actually protecting the citizens? That's an awful thing, Mayor de Blasio. I think people all over the city, of every background, would like to have the city government be able to determine which building goes where, how high it will be, who gets to live in it, and what the rent will be. See, and that's what's scary, folks, is that they take people and they use them. And these people who don't know what they're being used for think this person's there to help them. Yeah, the government should be able to do this. The goal for all of us when it comes to this worldly nonsense is to keep government as small as possible. They work for us, or they're supposed to anyway. Okay, so then in closing here, the immediate result of eliminating single-family homes and in turn destroying private property rights is to degrade the property values of the homes so many have worked to build. It used to be called the American Dream. Now it is labeled racist, discrimination, and social injustice. Eradicating poverty is the most popular excuse for the expansion of government power, yet it's interesting to note that not a single government program from the federal to the local level offers any plan for eradicating poverty, except the well-worn and unworkable scheme of wealth redistribution. After decades of following such a failed policy, the only result is that we have more poor people. And that's what they want. They hate the middle class. Because the middle class shows the poor people, us, I'm not saying us as in I don't know who's all listening to this, but I'm not middle class. I'm not rich. I'm not hungry either, and I have a house and I have property. But the middle class was always that, you don't expect to be rich, you don't care about being rich. But most of us, that middle class dream. They want to take that away. There's rich and there's poor. They're not inviting too many people into that rich person club, are they? But they don't want you to be comfortable either. They want you poor. They want you controlled. They want you asking the government for food, for heat, for whatever. It's crazy, folks. And the last part here. It is interesting to note that as private property ownership shrinks under these misguided policies, and they're not misguided. They're evil. They know what the hell they're doing, but they are. I get what he's saying here. Under these misguided policies, so too does the nation's wealth. Sustainable policies are at the root of nearly every local, state, and federal program. Each step diminishes individual freedom, personal and national prosperity, and the destruction of the hopes and dream of every American. And those people from other countries who live in shitholes that have always looked as America as that escape. The ones that the Democrats and the liberals are saying that they care about so much. No. They need voters. We all know what's going on here. Anyway, I get distracted. The American Policy Center is determined to lead the fight to end the misnamed and disastrous sustainable course for our country. And like I said in the beginning, the American Policy Center, I believe Tom DeWeiss owns it. Don't quote me on that, but check them out. He's got a ton of good info here. You can just go to Google and type in UN. You can go straight to their page and find all this stuff. It's not hidden, folks. But I appreciate your time. And as always, don't take my word on this stuff. This is what I know is happening. This is what I know is true. But don't put your faith in men. Do your research. Look this up. Pray on it. Pray for discernment. And if you haven't already, turn to our Heavenly Father, who loves you so much. He loves you so much that he sent his one and only begotten Son, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, to die for us, so that we may have everlasting life. And as always, I love you all. God bless all of you and your families.